Anticipating a few questions on banks, I decided we should start using bank language here. Describe. And Charlie.
It's for over $100 billion in cash on hand, or are we getting closer to cash distributions?
The situation in banking is very similar to what it's always been in banking, that fear is contagious.
If there's one thing on everyone's mind right now, it's whether the big recession is approaching, and if the same outcome as what occurred in 1929 would occur again or not. This is a troubling time for all of us, and it is important that we keep up with the latest news and the stock market to see what is actually happening. One of the economic downturns in the US that lasted from December 2007 to June 2009 was known as the Great Recession. The economic crisis was caused by low interest rates, cheap lending, home mortgages, and insufficient regulation. When there is a major drop in economic activity for several months or even years, it is referred to as a recession. When a country's economy faces negative gross domestic product, the growing unemployment, declining retail sales, expansion, and contradicting income and manufacturing metrics over an extended period of time, experts proclaim a recession. These trends have persisted for a while. Recessions are an unavoidable part of the business cycle, or the regular flow of expansion and contraction that occurs in a nation's economy. During a recession, the economy struggles, people lose work, companies make fewer sales, and the country's overall economic output declines. The point where the economy officially falls into a recession depends on various factors. Businesses, investors, and government officials track various economic indicators that help predict or confirm the onset of recessions. But they're officially declared the NBER, National Bureau of Economic Research. Various economic theories have been developed to explain how and why recessions occur. In February 2020, the NBER declared an end to the economic expansion when the US fell into a recession during the coronavirus pandemic. It was a short recession that ended within 2 months. The best strategy for investors is to invest in companies with low debt, good cash flow, and a strong balance sheet. Since 1854, there have been 34 recessions in the United States. The recent recession was in 2020. The 2008 financial crisis and the Great Depression of 1930 are examples of a recession. A long-lasting recession is called a depression. Warren Buffett is one of the world's wealthiest and most powerful people. He is the chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, a massive conglomerate that owns dozens of businesses across multiple industries. But what does he think about the global economy in 2023? If there is one area in which Mr. Warren Buffett excels, it is the stock market. Let's hear what he has to say about the current state of the stock market and what to expect. So when a renowned person like him says that we need to be worried, that is something you should surely listen to. But before going into that, let's see why he knows the stock market much better than anyone. The year was 1929, and Buffett's father worked at a bank. At the time, he also traded stocks like no one else. A year that practically all Americans are familiar with. Everyone knew someone who had been impacted by the crisis, which was one of the worst recessions and the greatest depression a wonderful country like the US has ever had. And Buffett's father was no different. He also traded stocks, and once the Great Recession hit, he could no longer face the people he was trading for, and he stayed at home. Although they were not a rich family, his father, which is Buffett's grandfather, ran a grocery store and was able to keep the whole family fed. And after Buffett was born, and a few months later, his father went back to the bank he worked at, and not to his surprise, he found the bank had written closed on its doors, and this was not the only bank that would be affected. All the 48 states had troubles over 4,000 banks failing, and people who had been saving up for months and years no longer had anywhere to turn, since their savings had now been wiped out. It was unlike anything we had ever seen, and something we sincerely pray we never see again. There have been many changes between 1929 and the present day, and the existence of the FDIC, or Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, is the reason for optimism. The FDIC, which was established on June 16, 1933, is one of only 2 organizations of its kind in the US. The other is the National Credit Union Administration, or NCUA, a body supported by the government and insures credit unions across the nation. As its name implies, the FDIC offers insurance to all Americans who have deposited their money and life savings into any of the recognized American depository institutions. What benefits does FDIC offer? The fact that all of their life savings was simply gone when everything collapsed in 1929 hurt people the most and really affected them. One day, people had everything they needed for a stable life, and the next, they were back to square one. However, thanks to the FDIC, plans, strategies, and insurance are now available to ensure that whatever happened in 1929 won't happen again. The terrible prospect of inflation is one of the most important topics Buffett has brought up recently.
81 or 2, and people were worried that it was going to go totally spin out of control.
You experience inflation when the price of all products and services rises over time. Inflation can be brought on by a number of things, such as excessive money printing, high demand, low supply, and poor policy. According to Buffett, there has been a very substantial inflation in the US economy, particularly in areas of housing, building, transportation, and food. Additionally, he has predicted that inflation will continue to rise through 2023 and beyond as the long-term repercussions of the large expenditure by the US government and central bank become apparent. Inflation can hurt both individuals and businesses, since it can erode their profits and savings. This makes future cash flows less valuable in real terms, making it harder to locate profitable investments. We can all see the increase in almost everything, especially things that we need the most. Gas prices, groceries, and most importantly, houses and building supplies for it. The American dream is built upon the theory that every American should be able to buy a home, with the house building industry getting costlier and costlier. That dream seems to be fleeting. The problem is that inflation not only affects things that are built in America, but also affects our imports, barrels of oil, and electronics. All these prices have increased, so we are paying more to get these materials. The price of steel seems to be going up higher and higher, and the reason why we have not been impacted so much as of yet is that the wages follow. With the increase in wages as well, inflation seems to keep going up, and when we all return back to work to our offices and things start going back to how it was before the pandemic had struck, we thought that it was all over, but in reality it was far from it. The prices of everything just keeps increasing, and we are in the red hot economy right now, and nobody was expecting it. And when people started going out, they started to buy more and more stuff because everyone had money in their pockets, and furniture stores were closed for weeks because of all of the backlogs. But when the $600 payments stopped, everyone figured the spending would end, but no one can stop people from spending, and so with more spending, the more the inflation will rise, and the more the price of everything will be going up, and it will be going up for the near future. In an interview, Buffett has also announced that he has sold some of his stock. But why did he sell his stocks? Buffett is aware of the tricks of accounting and the possibilities for deception, which is why he has just sold off the majority of his bank interests. When questioned why he had sold some of his stocks, he responded, "It is crucial that your country's banking system functions properly. It will not work unless you have a functioning banking system, and do not want them to cause periodic crisis unnecessarily. It is critical for banks to maintain public trust, which they can lose in seconds." We saw a country that was not worried about banks until about any day of the week when someone can tell you not to worry about anything. When Silicon Valley collapsed, suddenly everyone across the country was concerned. Buffett describes the pattern in the US. Sadly, banks are becoming more and more short-term orientated, trying to impress from quarter to quarter rather than keeping their eyes on the horizon and choosing the best course of action for their particular company's long-term health and success. He observed this in his holdings of the US bank equities, and because he disapproved of the trend, he sold his holdings. So the bottom line is that, given the risks and uncertainties in the market and economy, it would be preferable to use caution and good judgment while making investments. Along with finding possibilities and bright spots within the company's difficulties, you may also learn to be positive and interested in your investment approach. Buffett believes that despite the chaos, everything will soon turn out well. He wants to inspire and educate others with his expertise and thoughts. He has clarified that he wants to impart his wisdom to you and the future generation of investors who will determine how the world develops. With that, we have come to an end. If you liked this video, then make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more videos, click on the links you see on the screen. We will be back again with another video. Until then, stay safe.